Hey, 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 how is everyone doing? Amanda, I know you just came off a vacation. Was it good?
It was amazing. It was so much fun, and now I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I hear you. So, we thought today it'd be a good time to start talking about taxes, my favorite subject in the whole entire world. The reason I became an accountant. Not, but anyway, we all love them. We all love them. But I found an interesting statistic that I want to kick us off with,
Okay.
and that is 1 in 4 of us wait until April to file our returns. I was one of those. Sorry, my dogs are going to us now. I was one of those people, but I actually have mine done, and the software I'm using is having some issues with the communication to IRS. So thank goodness I got it done.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to point out that even though we've only got 19 days left, let's get jumping on those because when we quickly go through our return, we can make some costly mistakes.
Yep, and I unfortunately this year am guilty of being one of the one in
1 in 4.
four in April. This is the first year I'm filing as a married person, and when your husband has all sorts of other documents and things that you're waiting on to get everything turned into your CPA, it usually holds, pushes things away a little bit. I usually file by end of January, early February. So this isn't my favorite.
No, and waiting the so we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, and I too would have all the forms, but would drag my feet because I mean,
Mhm.
it's just something none of us enjoys doing. None of us. I don't care who you are. Filing taxes is pretty low on the list.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about some strategies today, a couple of things not to forget about, and
Mhm.
then maybe throw out some time management tactics. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
So, one thing I do want to point out, guys, the scammers are big right now. I mean, if you are going to get your identity stolen during tax time, is one of the highest times for that to occur. So, never, ever, 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 ever give out financial information over the phone to somebody, through a messaging. You need to make sure you're going to a secure site. I
Mhm.
mean, really think through the information that we're giving to others because scammers are out right now.
Totally. And one of the biggest scams is someone claiming to be the IRS calling you and wanting your information. The IRS will not call you.
No, no, they send things through the mail.
Yeah, they're a
So
little
it's
busy.
tracked. Yes. Well, and also, so there's a legal trail,
Yep. Yeah,
I have
so
had the IRS call me. Legitimately.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. There is also some free credit monitoring that is out there. It just takes a Google search. You can get your credit monitored more than you are now, which is probably not at all. So that is also a really good free tip to maybe look into, especially during this time of year, or get on a trial during this time of year.
For sure. And you also want to make sure when you're not using your credit to like qualify for a loan or whatever else to have it frozen. That's going to be the best free way to keep people from opening accounts in your name and doing things with your credit. Have it frozen at all three bureaus. You can do it online. And then anytime you need to unfreeze it because you are trying to get a loan or whatever else, you can either go online or call them and get them to temporarily lift the freeze so that credit pull can come through and then they can freeze it again. So
Yeah, that's
really
a
good.
great tip. Yeah, great tip. Any other scamming type tips you can think of? Because those are the two I had.
Yeah, no, just be vigilant, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Don't answer emails. Come on, guys. They're out there. So if it's a legit company, you can go in. You can. I mean, there's a different way of doing it.
Totally.
Okay, so the best starting point with taxes, unless you've had something change in your life like you have, is pull out last year's return. And a quick check is, do I have all the forms I had last year? And if I don't, why? And if I'm not sure, call.
Right.
So that I think is the best place to start. Now, if you're newly married, you both get out your returns from last year and try to, I mean, is there anything missing? Because that's usually what takes the most time to get at this point.
Yeah, that's really important. And, you know, if it's even helpful, because it could save a lot of time, make a list, like a checklist of all the different you know, forms or companies that you had to report, and then that way you could pull out that checklist for this year. Because some of the issues that I'm coming across now, both from my personal taxes and my grandmother's taxes, is not all the institutions mail out your tax forms.
Not
So
now.
yeah, exactly. So you get some in the mail, but some of them you have to actually go into your account and download the documents and have those available. So also knowing what's like in the mail versus online is usually very helpful.
Yeah, and then put your login information on that piece of paper or document. Make sure it's secure so you have it next year. Now's the time to start building a process for next year.
Right.
Even though you don't have a lot of time left, it's worth the time to go ahead and slow down just a bit and really develop a process so we can do things better next year.
Totally. And if you're someone like me that doesn't want to have that on like a document somewhere, utilize something like a Google Password Manager or something for the Apple or whatever else, where it saves your login information. You still have to authenticate yourself, but it saves your login information. So when you pull up any of those websites, that information's already there.
Great tips. That's why we get to do this together. Okay, so there's a couple of free resources out there that I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of. One is the IRS does have a volunteer income tax assistant program. That's how you search for it. Just search for IRS volunteer income tax assistant program. So if you have any questions, yes, you are going to have to sit on the phone on hold for a while. It's this time of year, but it's completely free. When I use the service, I typically call at least twice, if not 3 times, to see if I can get the same answer. Make sure they give you they reference a form, they reference the publication. So then you can go and print out that information as support of why you are filing this way. And that's usually for more of your non-typical. If it's a typical type question, easy peasy. But if it's like one year, I had a client who had life insurance on a horse. That's a thing.
Interesting.
And the horse died in the same year as the life insurance was paid out. Or the same year that life insurance was taken out, the horse died and the life insurance paid. So can you deduct the premium for the insurance, and do you claim it as income? And so that was a very unique situation. Called 3 times, got 2 answers the same, referenced everything, referenced the person I talked to, just so I could give the support for why I treated it the way I did. And then another free resource at the IRS is they have an approved list of tax software that is on their approved list. Returns have been filed, correctly, majority, they're the ones that validate those softwares. So those are the 2 resources I have from the IRS. Can you think of anything else tool-wise?
So I know the IRS is trying to get better with their tax submission software, because one of the things that I know a lot of people, myself included, have had issues with is having something like TurboTax advertise itself as free, like you can file your taxes for free, and then you go in to enter your information and it's like, oh, sorry, no, you have to pay money. Your
Mm-hmm.
taxes will cost you 30, 60, $100, however much, depending on the things that you put in. And the IRS is not crazy about that. And I know there was some like lawsuits and stuff happening with it, but they're trying to have a free direct file software available to people who just have simple returns that need to submit and don't need, bells and whistles because they have a business or they've got, a bunch of properties or anything like that. So I'm not sure the status on that, if that's something that is being fully utilized this year or not, but something to look into as a resource. If you don't want to use any of these outside vendors, you could always
Sure.
look at the IRS website and see what's available to you.
And some of these, like I've seen the advertisement. I don't know. I haven't been into it personally, but like H&R Block has a free service, but they're going to have to be simple returns, I would assume.
Sure. Yeah.
TurboTax does. I mean, just look for free. But I would, if it's not IRS itself, I'd bounce it against the IRS listing, because if
Mm-hmm.
like TurboTax is on their list, if I
Sure.
use the free service, I know I'm going to be safe.
Yes.
The other thing, when you're submitting online in a situation like that, you want to make sure you're on a secure network. Don't go to the library, don't go to the fast
Mm-hmm.
food place and do this, because that's when people can steal your identity.
For sure. Yep.
Okay, so some deadlines people aren't aware of is you have until April 15th to make an IRA contribution if you qualify,
Mm-hmm.
and also pay in your HAS. I'm going to keep them as the abbreviations, because if you have it, you know what it is. So everybody doesn't start asking a bunch of questions. If you don't know what it is, you don't have it. But the limits for 2024 can be paid. I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. 2023, you do not have to itemize in order to write off your HSA for your high deductible accounts. And high deductible is defined by the IRS as $1,500 for individual and $3,000 for families. And you can deduct up to $4,150 for individuals and $8,300 for families. Good
Lovely.
stuff, right?
Yeah. That is I feel like a lot of people still don't know the benefits of HSAs, and there's something that not only can you save up money for qualified medical expenses, but you can invest that money too after a certain threshold. So
And
to
maybe that'd be a really good topic for us to go over one day.
Yeah, totally. All the different companies are different, but if you have a high deductible, that's when you qualify to contribute to an HSA. You can still use an HSA without a high deductible plan, but you can actually like put money into it without that plan. And that's something that some people aren't aware of. So we definitely should do something on that.
Yeah. And then for IRA, if you're not itemizing and you need some deductions, remember you don't have to itemize for these two deductions. It's 6,500 for most, and if you're 50 and over, it's a $7,500 that you can pay up till April 15th and claim it on your 2023 taxes.
Yeah,
That's all I came up with an April 15th deadline.
yeah.
That's typical. That's typical.
Yeah,
Anything else?
the Roth IRA aspect of that is really important because I have a lot of clients who are kind of on the threshold of how much money they make and can they contribute to their Roth. And it's
Mhm.
very hard for them to know until they start getting those, uh, W-2s and everything else and figuring out what their income was for the year. So I have a lot of clients that will wait until the new year, see how much money they had coming in gross, see how much, all the deductions and things are, and then find out if they qualify to contribute. And if they do, they usually
Then
have some money set aside that they can put in there before the deadline.
yeah. Another great reason to work with a financial professional, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of things not to forget if you do itemize. Do not forget to itemize your realized capital losses. Again, this is a very high level topic. So if you don't know what this is, don't worry about it. But these are the things, don't forget to itemize. Your realized capital losses, gambling losses up to your winnings, another good one. Any mortgage or home equity loan interest, student loan interest, if it qualifies, and any business loan and line of credit interest. That's kind of the list I came up for itemized deductions. Anything else you can?
No, that sounds pretty good.
Um, Another thing to remember is if you have foreign accounts over $10,000, those need to be reported. That's so you can avoid penalties, some stiff penalties. And remember, some of our investments are over in foreign money, so that needs to be reported if it's over 10,000. Bitcoin is going to be its whole, IRS is trying to figure this out. Nobody really understands it. But if you have Bitcoins, you need to read through, or any electronic money investments. You really need to get somebody that deals in that area, or go out there and read the forms. It's getting more and more complicated. The IRS is trying to figure out, if you're earning money, they want their piece of the pie.
And if you're not sure about any of these questions, that's why working with a tax professional is going to be so important. Utilizing the resources that these vendors have. Usually they've got, like you said, volunteers or accountants or CPAs that you can contact if you have specific questions about your situation. But don't just get the forms, fill out the information, and if you're feeling like there's more to it than that, or you've got questions, definitely reach out to an expert.
Yes, yes. And the only other rare thing that I could think of that people forget is any gift tax returns. The limit is 7,000 per recipient this year. So those were kind of the oddball, not talked about much things that I could think of. Is there anything else in your realm? Kind of getting you on the spot here.
I don't think so.
Okay. So for some time management tips, guys, we got 19 days. That's a lot of time. I don't know what that is in 24-hour increments, but it's a lot of time. Make a plan. Go ahead and figure out when you're going to do this. Recommend starting with the forms from last year. And like Amanda said, make that list. Figure out how you're having to get those forms this year. Make those notes. We are going to do this every year. It's not something going away. And then don't sacrifice itemizing because you're running out of time. Take the time, itemize. That is your best. If you can get above the standard deduction, it's the best way to lower your taxes. Pay attention to what is taking a lot of time while you're doing your taxes, and what can you possibly do this year to decrease that time. I know tracking medical for us is one of the biggest time zappers that I have. Trying to go back and say, some things are paid on credit cards, some things written a check, paid online, whatever. Going back and finding all those medical costs is time consuming. So something I do is I do a spreadsheet. But there's a million different ways of doing this. And like we've said, go ahead and make a plan for next year. I mean, while you're in it, now's the time to start thinking, how can I do this better next year?
And particularly if you're a business owner, find a good, website or, tool or whatever else that can help you track your business expenses. The first few years of my business, I was just putting everything on a spreadsheet, and it was very time consuming. I did just have only a couple of accounts that I was pulling the info from, but this year I've searched around for somewhere where either I can link it up to my credit card or my business account and it pulls that information automatically, or there's even some free accounting software that you just need to download, like the Excel file from your bank or your credit card, and then you can upload it in here and it has everything listed and itemized and all of that. So if there's something out there that can save you time on keeping track of all of these expenses and things like that, highly recommend you seek those out.
Yeah. And if you need help in that area, I love helping people set up their business accounting. It's so much fun for me. There's so many options out there. And there's also, for those of us in this industry, there's a way for us to get y'all discounts too on some of the software. And sometimes all you need is an Excel spreadsheet until it starts taking too much time. Then it's time to start. Yeah. When you're tracking, and it gets there in no time. Yeah. So sorry it was such a painful conversation, but
I'll feel better once my taxes are submitted. So
yeah. So we all know this is a triggering subject, but hopefully the goal was to help, not to cause more stress.
yes. And if anything, if you've already finished your taxes for the year, good for you. Like, amazing job. But use this time while it's still fresh in your mind to, like we said, put a list together of all of the different documents that you used for this year, create a checklist, create some ways to save you time for the next year and kind of accumulating all that information. And that way, 2025 you is going to be really happy with you because you did some stuff to prepare them and kind of decrease the amount of time you had to put into the taxes. So
yeah, and that's what I did this year. That's why I was so successful this year, is because I took the time last year, streamlined my process. I mean, I've got 4 businesses running that I'm reporting, so it's cumbersome, but it can be done. You just have to do a little bit of planning. Okay, so we got a little bit of a delay going on. So that's all we have today. Good luck, everybody, on their taxes. And if there are any questions, please, please, please let us know. If we don't know the answer, we can definitely get you in the right direction. So next week, same time.
yes, thank you. Have a good one.